Well, what have we here? It's Saturday, October the 18th. It's noon Eastern time. I am Bob Harris, and it's time for the week 7 Ask Me Anything live stream. I see many of you are already asking questions. Let me know if my sound's not working or if it is. Just give me a sound check. Appreciate that. Before we get to the questions, and they are copious already, footballguys.com. That's the website. Go there. Great stuff, including my weekly articles. We'll get into all of that there. And plenty of other live streams throughout the YouTube channels. This is the Fantasy Live channel. Please like, subscribe, get notifications so you know every time this comes on, you'll get, and other shows too. Our pregame show is fantastic. Our trivia shows, tons of great stuff. You're all familiar with the Audible channel as well, where you find great things. The Fantasy Football channel, David Alfredo. Thank you. Good morning, Dame. How are you? Thank you for the sound check. Good morning, Slade. Hit the subscribe button again, notification bell, like me, dislike me, do all those things that YouTube loves so that everybody else loves me and sees me on the YouTube. Already in week 7. Big turning point week for many of us. The turning point has already happened. Man, I've got some struggling teams, Iron Eddie. I hope everyone else is in better shape than me. Monday through Friday, in case you don't know me, I'm Bob Harris. You'll find all my work at Football Guys. The Daily Update podcast is available every morning. Mike Dempsey and myself get busy with that. Give you a little 10-minute start to your day, a little NFL news and fantasy analysis. Fantasy Notebook's available every Thursday. The Friday, my collab with Gary Davenport, our 5 questions. And on Saturday, just out, my In and Out column. We'll talk a little bit about that, talk a little bit about the notebook, talk a little bit about some decisions and things we're thinking about. I know there's the Carolina running back situation. What are we doing with Rashee Rice? There's weather. There's all kinds of things going on. And the usual injuries. I like to go through the injuries first to get everyone up to speed and kind of set the table. Good morning, Mr. Scampers. Thank you for coming. Appreciate your presence ever so much. Scampers will break any news that's necessary to be broken. Probably. Already had news this morning. Emeka Ibuka on the practice field and looking good, apparently. I wouldn't get too far in front of this one. We'll find out later today what the injury designations are there. But let's go through the injury stuff real quick here. Get your Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens out of your lineups. They're on bye. The early morning game in London, Puka Nacua out. Get him out of there. Sunday, the early afternoon games, Chicago Bears. DeAndre Swift is listed as questionable. He says he's going to play. Ben Johnson says he's going to play. We'll see if he's going to play. Cairo Santos, the kicker, is out. Miami at Cleveland, where there will be bad weather. We can discuss at length. I have feelings about weather, but David Njoku's out. So if you think the Browns might pass the football, Harold Fannin Jr. is a great play. I like him a lot this week. We'll see what the weather does. New England at Tennessee, Stephon Diggs, questionable with a chest injury. Sounds like he'll play practice fully Friday. For the Titans, no Calvin Ridley. I will not be tempted to play him. It's very helpful for me because it was disastrous last week. Las Vegas and Kansas City. Brock Bowers is doubtful. Don't expect him to play. He got on the practice field Friday. He doesn't look like he's moving well. Jacoby Myers looked incredibly unenthusiastic at practice, but he was on the field. He's listed as questionable. We'll see a lot of chatter that where he traded that knee would get really well really quickly. Philadelphia, nobody on Kansas City worth worrying about. Rashee Rice returns to the chat, people. Get ready for that. We'll talk about it more. Philadelphia at Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy will serve as the emergency quarterback. Carson Wentz will start for the Minnesota Vikings. Carolina at New York. Jalen Coker is questionable. Seems like he'll play. Jatavian Sanders is back. And yes, Chuba Hubbard's back. We will discuss Chuba versus Dowdle as well. Garrett Wilson on the other side of the ball is doubtful. I do not expect him to play. You should not either. Might be a big Mason Taylor week. We're all hoping if you're streaming tight ends, that might be a target of opportunity. Late afternoon window, Denver hosting the New York Giants. Darius Slayton, doubtful. Don't expect him to play. Denver Broncos, all good. Indianapolis at Los Angeles. No Josh Downs. Been ruled out with a concussion. Ashton Doolin's out. A.D. Mitchell season, kids. Tyler Goodson questionable there, too. On the other side of the ball, no Hassan Haskins. Well, Hassan Haskins is questionable. He did work fully, so that's interesting, but they did add him as questionable late in the week, so that's something to look for. But it's the Kamani Vidal show, or at least it was last week. Hopefully that does not change. Washington at Dallas. Commanders without Terry McLaurin. Again, Noah Brown on IR. Zach Ertz, questionable. Seems legitimately questionable. Turned up with a calf injury on Friday. This could be a real game time decision, late afternoon window. Great matchup. You want to have somebody ready. Same with Deebo Samuel, whose heel has not gotten better yet. I went out and did some digging on this last night just to see, what the kind of the temperature check was. Remember, so Samuel, this injury cropped up 3 weeks ago against the Chargers. He was wide receiver 7. Last week, he was wide receiver 61. He didn't seem to be getting better, right? And on a night when, there are 3 touchdown passes thrown, he caught none of them. So, again, questionable. Will be a game time decision. We'll see how it goes. Jonathan Mingo on the other side of the ball. Seems like he's not going to be back this week. Green Bay at Arizona, Josh Jacobs, illness and calf. He is questionable for practice fully on Friday. I'm expecting him to play. Brandon McManus, I am not. He didn't practice all week. He's questionable, unlikely to go. Christian Watson still not ready to come back. Dontavian Wicks questionable, seems likely to play though. For the Arizona Cardinals, I know the news we're all waiting for. Amari DiMercado ruled out, so we can have an easier decision between Bam Knight and Michael Carter. Zay Jones questionable, didn't practice much this week. Kyler Murray though is a big story. Did that offense not look a little better with Jacoby Brissett last week? It might look like it again this week. Murray is questionable. They said yesterday, Jonathan Gannon, the next 48 hours would be pivotal. But I'm thinking people are expecting at this moment. Jacoby Brissett worked with the first teamers all week. Kyler Murray did not. Sunday Night Football. Darnell Mooney is questionable for the Falcons. Ray McCloud ruled out again, non-injury issue. There's apparently some strife in their relationship with the team and Ray McCloud. San Francisco, no Ricky Pearsall, no Brock Purdy. No Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I know that's bad news, people. We'll get over it. He's placed on IR, but George Kittle is back. And Juwan Jennings is off the injury report, but he is still injured. He has 5 broken ribs. Those didn't heal last night. And Mac Jones will, of course, start at quarterback, and he's been perfectly suitable. Kendrick Bourne might get another playable week here. But again, Kittle back. Juwan Jennings up to speed, apparently. The Monday night games, Tampa Bay got a doubleheader. Tampa Bay, I mentioned Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka, both on the practice field today. For the Lions, haven't seen any skill players of interest on the list. Let me double check that. Double checking. Yeah, no major skill players. Houston and Tennessee. It's Houston and Seattle. Same thing. No major skill players on the list. So we'll be watching those designations. Will come out later today. How's everyone doing? How was that? Now we're up to speed. See if I'm missing anything here in the commentary before we get to the questions. Are we giving up on Darren Waller? Just an interesting question. No, we're not giving up on him, but it's not great weather this week. So I don't know. But no, I think I'm still kind of in on Darren Waller. He's been tight end 5 since he returned, 3 weeks ago. Or since he made his debut. It's been pretty good. They get him some great spots and some high leverage opportunities. Best landing spot for Jacoby Myers for fantasy purposes. I've heard Buffalo mentioned. I've heard the Steelers mentioned. I've heard the Vikings mentioned. The Steelers, to me, would be the best for that. Good morning. Thank you very much. Best way to start say non-PPR. How do you feel about stacking Mason Taylor and Justin Fields and rolling out Daniel versus rolling with Daniel Jones and Kyle Pitts? I don't feel great about Justin Fields this week for one reason. Like, he's coming off a historically bad performance. I don't know how much, I don't expect it to be worse. I don't expect it to be as bad, but how much better does it have to be? Or how bad can he be to start a game before he gets to the hook? I'd be worried about that, but I do love Mason Taylor this week. All right. Let's go back to the top. And again, if you don't know me, I'm Bob Harris. I'm at footballguys.com. It's a website of some renown. Great cast of characters there as well. Tons of content, rankings, projections. I lean into the rankings and projections. You'll find my rankings there for the week. The projections are great. Kind of our projections team, Sigmund Bloom, Jason Wood, Moriel Tremblay, have done many years of this, and they have it down to a bit of a science. I just want to say, and I think you all understand this, but just let's, set the table here. We're playing a range of outcomes when we play a player, right? The possibilities are 0 to infinity, but we're playing the probabilities that we have a good idea of what the outcome is going to be. But we play it knowing it's a range. It's not a determined factor. We rank linearly because that's how rankings work. I like to remind everyone again, look at these players, look at rankings, look at projections in tiers, groups of players in the same range. And then you decide, like, you're a knowledgeable football fan. You've been watching the game. Some of us have played football, and we have a really good understanding of what we think and our expectations. And I'll start with the Rico Dowdle versus Chuba Hubbard. Like, there's a range of outcomes here. One is, Chuba Hubbard comes back in and moves right in as a starter and starts playing like he did before. And we see Rico Dowdle maybe every third series come in and get work done. But the other part of that reality is, Rico Dowdle has amassed 437 yards from scrimmage over the last 2 weeks. It's more than Saquon Barkley has all year. Do they just abandon that? So we have to determine a lane, right? You have to figure out where you're at on this. Here's where I'm at. And, and I know there's been a lot. I mean, we're all looking. The Panthers have made a decision. They've said, we've decided, we're not telling you, but we know what we're going to do. We heard the talk at practices of Chuba leading the breakdowns of the offense. We saw Rico Dowdle say, hey, this was been Chuba's team from the jump. I'm, happy to fill in. We'll see. I think for right now, I'm playing Dowdle until they make me stop. Am I playing him with the expectation he's going to put up running back one numbers or get the same kind of production he did the last 2 weeks? No, but I wasn't doing that anyway. Those are huge weeks against super easy opponents, right? A more realistic view of Rico Dowdle is he's something closer to what Chuba Hubbard was before he was hurt. Chuba Hubbard before he was hurt was a running back 15, playing in tougher matchups, right? Who did they play? The Patriots. There was another relatively tough game. Who did Rico Dowdle play? The Miami Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys, both of whom tend to lay down for opposing offensive skill players. So, again, my default this week is I'm playing the most recent production. Call it recency bias, call it gut feeling, whatever. And we should all be playing our hunches. I talk about this all the time. You should play your hunches. I'm going to play mine. I'm going to tell you what my hunches are and encourage you to play your hunches if you feel differently. But so there is a range of outcomes here. The football guys' projections have Dowdle, I think, a running back 18, Chuba in the high, 31, 32. I see it about the same. I maybe like Dowdle a little more. I'm a little more convinced that, so one of the things that I look at, having played football, my entire youth is you have to live in a locker room where guys want to win, right? And if Rico Dowdle's got the job done the last 2 weeks, it's no slight against Chuba Hubbard to say, we're going to roll with the hot hand. It's also no slight to say, hey, nobody deserves to lose their job due to injury, and Chuba Hubbard gets a start. Maybe it's a ceremonial start, just a couple plays to say, hey, yes, we're still here, but acknowledge what Rico Dowdle's done and the success the team has had with him at running back, right? So the thing that's key to me also is Dave Canales. I've talked to people going back a year, and everyone uses the same word when they talk about what Dave Canales wants. He wants violent runners. Well, Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle both fit that bill. So we'll see. Again, my stance is I'm playing Dowdle until they make me stop. I'm playing him with lower expectations than if there was no Chuba Hubbard. I'm playing Chuba Hubbard if I have him as a flex play and hoping for more. So there you have that. And Rashee Rice. Let's talk about Rashee Rice. Can we talk about Rashee Rice? I think we can. By the way, hi, Andrea. How are you? It's good to see you. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you. Wide receiver landing on the Giants would be interesting. A little talk there. Yes, I agree with that. Darius Slayton is now out. He had gone from doubtful to now out. If Kyler Murray is out, would you start Brissett over Bryce Young in a super flex? I'm not as down at Bryce Young as everyone else. I mean, it hasn't been as great as I expected, but it hasn't been as horrible as maybe it's been perceived. He's getting some weapons back. I don't know if I'd get that cute. I'd probably play Bryce Young. But it is a tougher matchup, right? Well, Green Bay's a tough matchup too. I'd probably stick with Bryce Young. Rashee Rice, what are we doing? Well, we're playing him with a wild abandon, just like the Chiefs in plan to. Jeremy Fowler reported this week that Rashee Rice would not be eased in. He'll get his full allotment. This is the offense as they designed it, right? Brett Veach's blueprint was Rashee Rice working the short and intermediate, to Marquise Brown doing some of the same, the intermediate and deep, and Xavier Worthy taking the top off defenses, Travis Kelce doing his Travis Kelce thing. I'm guessing they expected more running, but it's not working. We saw Patrick Mahomes last week tighten in. He didn't throw deep very often. I think he only had one attempt of 20 yards or more. But still, I mean, they're moving the ball, almost using the passing game as an effective running game. And I will say Isaiah Pacheco looks like he's picking up the pace a little bit, but don't know that he's there yet. I expect a lot from Rashee Rice. Dave Kluge, in his rest of the season rankings, had a great view. I think he has Rashee Rice at wide receiver 14, but there's room for more. His numbers last year projected. If you projected to an entire season, his numbers over the last 17 games, those numbers would give you a top 10 wide receiver. I'm playing him like he's a wide receiver, high-end wide receiver too, and I'm hoping for better, but kind of playing him as if he's going to hit the ground running. About the weather. Let's talk about the weather while we're at it. Again, as old people, I am been watching football for many years. Football is played in the winter. It's in inclement weather very often. Horrible weather. Points still get stored. Is it ideal? No. Is it a disqualifying factor? For the most part, also no. The winds in Cleveland are supposed to be really bad, could gust up to 50 miles an hour. There's going to be rain there. Chicago, the rain is supposed to be done. There'll be some wind. I think in Tennessee, there's some weather as well. None of those are going to keep me probably from playing players. The Cleveland is interesting. Like, I'm not all that interested in the pass catchers there anyway, not named Harold Fannin. Don't know that the gusts of wind will be as big of a factor for him, but we'll see. The thing I want to say about this is hold off on those decisions until Sunday, and get out on your X device or listen to me on the pregame show on Sirius with Jeff Mans. Listen to the Football Guys show on this very channel of Football Guys Live with Joey Wright and the crew to get the weather sorted out and see where it's at. Because oftentimes it's not as bad as they say. Maybe it could be worse. I mean, we don't know until we get out there. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard the ominous reports only to say, oh, it doesn't look that bad. So wait it out, give it a chance. It's not disqualifying to me weather, but it definitely a hair splitter, right? Like if you have close decisions and one guy's playing in the balmy, 70-degree temperature and sunshine, and the other guy's playing in gusting winds and rain, yes, probably going to make a difference. All right. Let's do questions. I know that's what you're here for. I know. Hope all your seasons are going great. Let me know if you're having a super excellent season in the chat or if things are going horrible for you. And if they're going horrible for you, tell me what you're doing to try to turn it around. I'm happy that you're here. If you're having a horrible season, some of my teams are, man, they're miserable. But you just keep grinding. You try and figure it out. You sort some things out. I'm in the Kings Classic, one of my Kings Classic leagues. I'm just like failing miserably. The great Andy Barron's offered me like a trade that I might not normally do, but you got to shake things up a little bit. And I did it. So we'll see how things work out. But for some of us grinding, more power to us. To those of us who are out there dominating, and there are leagues where I'm also dominating, it's a lot more fun. So let's get all our teams to that point. Darnold or Knicks rest of the season in a standard 6 point. That's interesting. I actually want to look at this. I'm kind of in on Knicks. I have been pretty much all season. But I'm not going to pretend it's going as well as I thought. So I just check out Kluge's. Dave Kluge does his rest of season rankings every week. I want to see where he's at on those guys just to see what I feel. He has Knicks as quarterback. It's about what I thought. It's pretty even. He has Bo Nix at quarterback 16. Sam Darnold is quarterback 17. I think the slight edge does go to Nix because of his mobility. I keep thinking, or I keep telling myself, or wish casting the possibility that Sean Payton will figure things out. But I think they are even. They're both like front half quarterback twos. You could say Sam Darnold's got a great crew. I'll say Sam Darnold's been better than I thought. And it's because the pass protection has been better than I thought. Pitts are likely rest of the season in a standard PPR. I'll go with Pitts, please, knowing that he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. But the Ravens, I'm going to stick with that. Trade Bowers for Collins in a standard 1-for-1, factoring the extra 2 weeks of Nico, how bad Geno is, context of, I would probably do it. I would probably do that. I mean, I don't really like your tight ends, Bruce, particularly, but it is a position you could stream, and we don't know when. My guess is we won't see Brock Bowers until after the bye, right? So week 9. They have a bye next week, so we'll see him week 9. Will he be good? I mean, it's encouraging that he got on the field, but you're right. Geno hasn't been great. He, is that knee going to be a lingering issue, or the brace that he'll have to wear on that knee be a continuing issue? It was certainly an issue when he tried to play with it, but also he wasn't himself, and he acknowledged he couldn't get the separation. The thing that makes him special at the position wasn't working for him. Given your circumstance, I don't want to be playing, I love Kayshon Boutte. Booty, I got to say it right. He told me so. And I have high hopes for Golden, but yeah, I would much rather play Nico than that trio right now. And I think I could figure out tight end, even if those guys that you have aren't necessarily the answer. Charbonnet versus Texans, Burden versus Saints, Pierce versus Bolts, Shepard versus Lions. I would be more interested in Shepard if I thought there was no Ibuka. And, my expectation has been that Evans is back, Ibuka is not. But we'll see now. If Ibuka's back, I'm probably less interested in Shepard. Pierce versus Bolts is interesting. I'd probably go Charbonnet versus Texans. Burden versus Saints. I mean, if Luther Burden III ever gets a full workload, and maybe that'll take a trade. Maybe DJ Moore has to get traded, right? But he's clearly a dynamic, dangerous receiver. But they still, I mean, whatever, we watch a game and we see these great plays by a rookie wide receiver or any player, right? And we think, why isn't that guy playing more? There are usually reasons that we are not aware of. Coaches, just remember, coaches around players all day. They watch them every day in practice. They're studying things. There are probably things that Luther Burden is not yet doing well that keep them from wanting to put him on the field on a more regular basis. At some point, the ability to make plays will outweigh the shortcomings, or the shortcomings will get better and the skills will come closer together. Clearly, Luther Burden is a dynamic, dangerous player with the ball in his hands and a great receiver. Route runner, does all those things well. But it's not quite working yet. I'm going Charbonnet, and I'm not feeling great about it. Olave, bad weather in Chicago versus Devontae Smith. I'm going to watch the weather on that one. It sounds like the rain's going to be over there if that's the case. I mean, a sloppy field can work in the receiver's favor. He knows where he's going. I mean, he's less likely to slip than the guy trying to cover him if the field is a mess. I know the field in Chicago has been messy at times. I don't know if there's been a big concert there in the last couple of days. That's been the case in the recent past. But Olave's been monster target share. He has 10 targets every game but one this year. I love playing that volume, and I would play that over Smith, who I think is hit or miss. By the way, just for a little context here, my in and out column is out. The quarterback I'm out on this week is Jalen Hurts. That doesn't mean I wouldn't play him in a regular season long one quarterback league. Of course I would. He's the third highest scoring quarterback in the NFL. But this is a tough game. The Philadelphia Eagles are like 31st in the NFL in yards per game, offensive yards per game. That's not great. Ideally, they want to run the football. They haven't been able to do it effectively enough. In the games where they fall behind, they have passed effectively. But the truth is they don't want Jalen Hurts throwing the ball a ton, right? It just seems like, to me, Smith is going to be hit or miss in terms of volume or anticipated volume. Again, can have huge games. We've seen it. Also can have miserable slogs. We've seen that as well. Start 2 in a standard league, non-PPR, Ibuka, McConkey, and Brian Thomas Jr. Well, unless we get some really good news on McConkey later today, like he's off the injury report and has miraculously healed from the hamstring injury that was expected to keep him out this week, then I'm playing those other two guys. Pretty easy call. Quentin Johnston is back it looks like for Los Angeles, so that maybe is a little concerning for McConkey, but he's looked good the last couple games. Hi, Scott. Full PPR. Need to stream a tight end this week. Mayer or Gadsden. I'm going to probably go with Mayer in this one. The previous comment is true. It's not been great for Geno Smith, but Mayer had a pretty solid floor game. I love Gadsden. I'd like to see, a little more experience and fewer targets, a lot of weapons in that offense. So I'm probably going to go away from that. Let me just look at something real quick. Is my perception the reality? Sometimes I get to thinking about these things, and this is why not going to lie. This is why I do these kind of ask me any of these questions. It's very helpful to me to I'll think of something like, what exactly is Gadsden done? Because I kind of like it. Yeah, it's been about what I expected. Sometimes you get a perception of a player like he's rising up or he's fallen off. Like I think Juwan Johnson's fallen off track, right? He's fallen off pace. Well, he has. Why is that? It's because the workload has gone down. His target shares have diminished greatly. So that's been a problem. And by the way, going in concert with the targets going down for Juwan Johnson, targets are going up for Alvin Kamara. It's good news for Alvin Kamara investors. He is my in on this week's running backs. Great matchup against Chicago, increasing targets the last 3 weeks. And a low projection. He's projected to finish his running back 22, I want to say. I think he could be top 20, but not much more than that. John Fusak, hello. Flex Montgomery versus Detroit. Chubb versus Seattle. Luke McCaffrey versus Dallas. So there we're playing with fire there a little bit. Luke McCaffrey is my outlier in this week's in and out column for that reason. But he's kind of an outlier play. I think you're taking your chances. Like he comes up with a big play. They just don't use him as much as I'd like to make him kind of a guy that I would feel comfortable playing. But again, he's my outlier of the week. You could say the same for Kayshon Boutte every single week, and it's a great matchup. I'm probably playing Montgomery this week. The Lions have talked about getting the ball more, getting him more involved. than he was last week. You know, we kind of see this goes back and forth with him a little bit. I would probably play that this week. Hi, Brad Stewart. I'm not against playing Mac Jones this week. In fact, my rankings have Mac Jones ahead. I was a little too high on Mac Jones. I dialed him back a little bit, but he's still ahead of Darnold. And I agree with you for the reasons you said. Also, if Debo is ruled out, pivot to Luke McCaffrey. So there you go. I'm probably go Kendrick Bourne. With Mac Jones still in, not expecting another 142 yards. Didn't expect another 142 yards last week. Got it. Just 142 yards a game is Kendrick Bourne. Clearly, he has a good relationship or good chemistry with Mac Jones, which goes back their time together in New England. It's interesting how a guy can just walk in off the street basically and just come up so big. But Bourne has history with that offense, history with the quarterback. Tells you a little bit about that. I would probably do that, but why we keep getting McCaffrey questions is because of the circumstances in Washington. No Noah Brown, no Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel beat up, Zach Ertz beat up, the Dallas Cowboys giving up the most fantasy points to receivers in all of football. I mean, yes, there are things to like there. The one thing I don't like, and again, in the in and out column, he's my outlier of the week. A guy, I think his projection is wide receiver 65. I think he'll outperform that. Like he can do it on one play. He has done it on one play. So it's a really low projection. So the expectation is low. I think Bourne's role is maybe a little more predictable, even with George Kittle and Juwan Jennings back. And I say that in acknowledging why have I always been a Juwan Jennings guy? Because when he plays entire games, he tends to lead that offense with no Brandon Ayuk. So I am keen on him, but I don't think he's 100% healthy, and Bourne is on a little bit of a run. John, again, wide receiver with my bench mostly out. Choices Chris Moore versus Dallas or Jalen Coker versus New York Jets, assuming he's activated. I would probably go with Chris Moore here. He's been getting like a lot of the work for McLaurin, and again, it's a great matchup. He has some touchdowns. I would rather play him probably than McCaffrey. But, like, you know, again, you're kind of taking your chances with either, but I think that's fine. I'm not a cokehead, so, you know, I'm not as enthusiastic about Jalen Coker as other people are. We'll see if he's ready to go. I'm assuming he will be available. You know, that's just my gut feeling. It's been 2 weeks of practice now. And look, they had big plans for him. You know, they traded Adam Thielen thinking they had their big guy in the slot that could make plays, and maybe they can't. So for right now, I'd probably play I'd probably play Moore in that matchup. Hi, Jim. Waiver question. Let's see. I have some news here. You probably have. I probably should scroll down to the bottom of the chat and see what's going on. What Scampers is telling me. Buka game time decision. There it is. Mike Evans is out. Well, that's surprising. That is surprising. Really expected Mike Evans to be back and did not expect Ibuka to be a game time decision for sure. Hold on. Let me take care of a little football guy's business here and fix my rankings. Don't like my rankings to be wrong. Ruled out week 7. Horrifying news for all the people. So, yeah, that changes the equation a little bit for Shepard. I mean, it probably still in play there with no Evans, but with possibly Ibuka or possibly not Ibuka. That's way interesting. Didn't have that on the old Big Go card. Let me just move my Evans ranking and fix that, people. Bear with me. Things happen. That is tragic. Well, not tragic. That's an overstatement. Going to readily acknowledge. All right. Back to the questions. Thank you again. Horrifying. Is your pivot Chris Moore or Luke McCaffrey? I think we've been talking about this a little bit, Scampers. Like, I think either of them. I think the one you have, if you have both those guys, congratulations to you for being ready for that. But I think my preference is Moore. I just like, at some point, I wonder, like, what don't they see in McCaffrey? Let me just go look at some numbers because I think I looked at it yesterday. Commanders. Yeah, Chris Moore is like up in the 19% target share right now, and Luke McCaffrey is like less than 5%, and he makes the most of them. There's no doubt about it. So that's very interesting. All right, so yeah, that's kind of the discussion there. All right, let's get back to it. Wow. By golly, yes. Sad day. Sad day for those of us who were, in our teenage years during the 70s when KISS happened, and we were all in the Army, and it was a good time for all the KISS Army. That's regular Army. Keenan Allen at home versus Indy or Matthew Golden. I'm probably playing Keenan Allen at home. Just checking more news coming in, just making sure it's nothing horrifying. All right. So yeah, Keenan Allen for me. Waiver question, have Mayfield and Purdy, number 3 on waivers. Flacco available, use number 3 waiver spot instead of Purdy, or keep waivers in case I think Purdy will be back next week. I'd probably keep my waiver claim in case there's something somewhere else. I think you can always get a quarterback. You may not always get Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco might not always be as good as he was this week. Pittsburgh's pass defense is pretty generous, people. Because of injuries, I'm down to a boom bust to wide receivers. Would you start Luther Burden or Devonta Smith? I'd probably go Smith over Burden right now. By the way, if you're just tuning in, I'm Bob Harris. Hi, I'm from Football Guys. Go find all my work there, all my rankings there. My rankings now featuring no Mike Evans and a slight chance of Emeka Egbuka. You hear me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, 8 to 10 weeknights with Mike Dempsey, the Football Diehards program. Tonight, I'm on from 8 to 11 on the NFL radio and the Fantasy Channel, both. Can't even hardly miss me if you try. 3 hours, we'll have John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar, on. We'll have Jamie Calandro on. I think our feature game is, I can't remember, so I'm not going to say. But it'll be a good one. We'll have a couple beat writers to cover a game of the week. And then tomorrow, Jeff Mans and I doing the pregame show on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio from 11 to 1. Yeah, would be interested in this. I hear my guy Shohei Ohtani came up big in this one. That's what I heard. Don't follow the baseball closely. Glad they're going to the Super Bowl. It's good for them. I thought it was the Stanley Cup they were playing for, though. DJ Moore, Golden, or Jameson Williams. I might play Jameson Williams this week. DJ Moore's off the injury report, by the way. Hospitalized overnight with a groin issue. Weird. And he's off the injury report. So I think he's going to play. Is he 100%? I don't know. I'd probably play it safe on this one. Should I drop Cooper Kupp for Calvin Ridley? Hamstring to stash on my bench? I don't know that I'd do that. Not eager to do that. Not eager to have Titans right now. Not eager to have Cooper Kupp either, but I don't know if Alvin Kamara is ever going to round into. It was one good game. It was a decent matchup. My argument was you had a lot of tough matchups early in the season. If you're not playing Cooper Kupp and you think hey, I'd rather have a team, even a lousy team's wide receiver 1 than a decent team's leftovers. Yes. I mean, it's a fine move. I'd keep rolling Dowdle in this case, Iron Eddie. It would be Kamara next for me and then Swift, but Swift, it looks like he'll be fine again. Kittle or Ferguson, Fannin or Kraft, they're very even in my rankings. I would probably play Ferguson over Kittle this week. That'll be a much harder decision going forward. It's still playing with Mac Jones. I don't know what kind of chemistry they've established. Haven't practiced together a lot, I don't imagine, in the last couple of weeks. So that's interesting. I like Fannin off a lot. I think I have Kraft ahead of him right now in my rankings. I think the weather would probably keep me on Kraft. Also, Arizona, incredibly horrible against tight ends, historically. Also related to bad weather, should we worry about Waddle this week? Yeah, I think we should worry about both those things, Jeff. Waddle last week, he was my out in my in and out column. I was not like he was projected to be wide receiver 17. I said he wouldn't make it. He finished as wide receiver 18. There's Scamper's confirmation of Scamper's moves on Darius Slayton this morning from the great Adam Schefter. Yes, you heard it here. Mr. Scamper's beating the K-Pock out of Adam Schefter on the breaking news department. Kudos to you, sir. Yeah, but I'm more down on Waddle just because I'm down on Tua Tagovailoa. Not a strong arm quarterback in that wind. I don't know. Probably if I'm worried about wind, I'm worried about Tua in the wind for sure. Sutton, Keenan, PPR, pick one. Also, Pitts, Fannin, Hurts, or May. Thanks. I'm paying Drake May. I'm playing Sutton, and I'm playing Fannin over Pitts, but watch the weather. Who sits? Jacobs, Brees, Judkins, or White? None of them sit. 0 of those players sit. 0. Find a way. I think my order on these players is it'd be between Brees and Judkins. It'd probably be Brees. Sits. And I'm not down on Brees this week. He's still, high-end running back 2 for me. Grabbing one more 5-point PPR co-team owner. We traded Waddle and Dobbins for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Terry McLaurin. Congratulations. I think that's a win. Assuming Terry McLaurin comes back. But it might be a win anyway. Oh, I'm just down to the hellos. Jiminy Christmas. Y'all ask a lot of questions before this starts. I tried to get the chat shut off before the show starts, but that function is not allowed. So we can have more of a conversation rather than me playing catch up trying to answer a bunch of questions. Jeff needs one. Need a flex. Keaton versus Indianapolis. Dowdle versus New York Jets. I'm going Dowdle there. Dobbins would be next. Hey, everyone's there. Good morning, Bob. Booty versus Tennessee. Burton versus New Orleans. Coker versus Jets. I'm going to go Booty there. This is true, said the Jacoby Myers crowd. I think we got to that one already. I'd probably lean Kamara there, Dame. I'm in on Kamara this week, though, just again. So I might be a little biased. It'd be Walker after that and then Harrison. Nice. All 3 teams above 500. That's the way to do it. So that you're on Love this week, like him over Stroud. Yes, I do this week. I do. I think it's a good game against Arizona. He's been making some bigger plays. Was 3 of 3 on his deep balls last week. No Christian Watson this week, but still Matthew Golden. But yeah, and it helps that Jacoby Myers been scoring some touchdowns too through the air. Need a bike week fill in at quarterback. Options are Stroud at Seattle, Penix at San Francisco, Wentz at home against Philly, Brissett at home. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel great about any of those guys. I'm checking. It's what I thought. It's like Wentz is the top projected player of this group. By far. Easily. By golly. Iron Eddie, my keeper league is I'm 1-4 and we'll keep being top 3 in scoring each week. We'll keep playing I hate that when that happens. Hopefully that straightens out. If they use him, man, it looks like he could have those games, just based on what we saw eyeball test wise, or what we've seen. But what we saw Monday night, I mean, it just looks like he could do that. This seems to be the case. So Olamide Zaccheaus is still playing getting way more playing time. Hello, the great Scott Kobe, high stakes master in the class here. Need 1 point in a PPR. Pittman versus Chargers, Jameson Williams, Tampa, Luke McCaffrey versus Dallas, Kendrick Bourne versus Atlanta, Books and pulled all Washington props off the board. How are you? I am good. I hope you're doing well as well. I'm probably leaning Pittman here. A little touchdown dependent. Not against Bourne. One of the things I keep like trying to use to dull my enthusiasm about Bourne in this game in particular is Atlanta's defense has been playing semi lights out for the most part. They've had some lapses, but I'm going to probably just play it safe. I feel safe is and say Pittman. Jameson Williams over Tez Johnson for me. Probably going to play Goddard this week given the weather. If DeAndre Swift is a no-go, I think he will be, but I would pivot to Kamani Vidal over Ramondre Stevenson, and it's a great matchup for Stevenson and the Patriots in general. I'm guessing Mike Vrabel will have a little something for his former team. And would you play either of those two running backs over Stephon Diggs in a flex full PPR? Yes, I would play maybe both of them. Two great games from Stephon Diggs, but it's been two. And I like Stephon Diggs. I'm invested. I'm playing him all over the place. But I'm if I have more certain volume, I'm probably playing that. Is there a story for Tez being usable, Evans and Abuka out? Yes, Baker Mayfield is the story. And that's the story you tell yourself for anybody not named Evans, Abuka, or Chris Godwin in this offense, whether it's Sterling Shepard, Tez Johnson, Cameron Johnson. Loved Mayfield's line on Tez Johnson last week. When he was doing the backflips. Yeah, I can't do that. I'm weighed 142 pounds since I was in 6th grade. But yeah, that's the story. The story is Baker Mayfield is making all things great. But less so if there's an Abuka. Should I trade Garrett and Rachaad White, Garrett Wilson and Rachaad White for Pittman, T, and Monty? Hate to split Tampa Bay running backs would be Monty, Bucky. There's a layer of translation here when you use nicknames, half names, whatever, that makes this more difficult. Whole names and something that's complicated. Garrett Wilson and Rachaad White for Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, and David Montgomery. Yeah, I'm probably not doing that. Oh, plus those. Yeah, I probably would do that. I want to build my receiving room. So, yes, I might do that. It's a complicated question. Jacoby Myers, for me, I'm not playing him right now. Also, not playing him right now. Yes, did see that. I should have mentioned it. I don't mention a lot about the Monday games because the injury reports are coming out later in the day. And so I don't want to get in front of them. But yes, Christian Kirk was added yesterday. I don't know, all of them? The debut, Dress to Kill. Destroyer's great, though. I see only one and that has to be me. Where's the rest of you? What's up? I'm going to go like myself. Man, that's on my alert. I'm going to dislike me just to make it easier. Oh, there's more than one. All right. AJ Brown, Ted McMillan, Quentin Johnston. I'm probably playing Quentin Johnston, then Ted McMillan, then AJ Brown. It's close between McMillan and Johnson. Don't love the sauce treatment for him. And AJ Brown, I'm not saying he's unplayable. I'm just saying it's dangerous business, right? This offense is not what we hoped it would be. They don't, ideally it's if it's what Philadelphia hopes it'll be, they're not throwing the ball very much. They've had to throw the ball more because Saquon's not getting the job done, but it's not been great. Sorry. Thank you for coming, sir. Appreciate you. Travion, Michael Carter, Spears, or Hunt. Probably slightly. I'd probably give Travion a chance in this group. Probably playing Fannin, waiting to see what the weather is. If it's like truly horrible, if it's truly the 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts and pouring rain, then probably would pivot to Fannin. I think everyone's now saying. I think we've all decided Mike Evans is out. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing this now. Schefter is saying it is a game time decision also for. Yeah. Are you seeing that too, Scampers? The latest from Ian Rapp or from Adam Schefter now is Mike Adams, who practiced today, is also considered a pregame decision. Let me just double check what's going on in the chat here. Hold on. Oh, yeah, so Evans is not out. Are you seeing that too, Scampers? Let me just scroll down to the bottom. Yep. Okay. All right, we're good then. I better go fix my things though. All right, fair enough. That makes more sense. That was super surprising. I feel way better about that. And yes, and that changes the calculus. If all those guys, we could have both Evans and Ibuka, then I'm probably not eagerly playing some of the outliers there. No worries, man. Just like try to facilitate the things. So like it is crazy, but like we saw this last year, right? It was like an almost even split of good games, big games between uh Brown and Smith, and it's because they don't throw the ball. They only threw the ball 30 times in a game once last year, or once. They were in the games. So I think they ended up like in the last 11, 12, 13, 14 games now, they've only thrown the ball 30 times twice. I mean, it's not the volume we wanted. It has nothing to do with AJ Brown, still one of the best receivers in all the NFL. It's not working out. Also, there seems to be some chemistry issues. Yes, that is correct. Let's make sure we have it right. If you missed just dialing in and you're wondering where we were talking Evans out, there was a local report that was incorrect. It has now been corrected. Evans was listed as practice today and a game time decision. That is 100% true. Probably not doing that. Greg. Do you think the target for treat for Tampa is Evans, Shepard, and as Johnson if Ibuka is out? Yes. That'd be my guess. And probably Odd in there somewhere. All right. Look, I've gone through all the questions. I rarely get to do that. So let's go back and cover some things that we would have liked to cover more closely. I want to look at this trade a little more closely. So Garrett for Rashad White. Oh, Garrett and Rashad White are going away. Pittman, T. Higgins, David Montgomery. Yeah, if I'm getting those two receivers back and they're playable every week, and that's the rest of my receivers, yes, I did have that right. I do have that right. So, all right. So we've got the whole Tampa Bay situation figured out. That was truly mind-boggling there for a brief moment. So let's talk again about some of the things I talked about at the top of the show. The Dowdle versus Hubbard. I think did you see the Women of Fantasy League we were both in? Yes, that league is very competitive. I'm fortunate to be competitive in any of my leagues at this point, but yes. The Dowdle versus Hubbard, if you're wondering about that one, my default is Dowdle still. I think he's a lower end running back too, with obviously running back one upside. Playing Hubbard like he's a flex level play to me makes sense. The range of outcomes, though, is the other way around. We saw Chuba Hubbard in the games he played. He was running back 15 with tougher matchups than Rico Dowdle had. Rico Dowdle obviously cashed in at a far higher level, dominant, in 2 games against matchups that are easily dominated, right? Miami and Dallas, but he did, and to a degree we've not seen in many, many, many years. So this is going to be a tricky one, and we could totally have it wrong. As I said at the top of the program, we're playing a range of possible outcomes, right? And we all understand that we're playing the probabilities. For me, and yours could be different. You could see this differently. Like reasonable people can sit here and say, "Oh wow, I don't see it that way." I see it as like, for me, like if you're in a locker room and you're having success as a team, and a lot of that success is based on the great success of a player, and you just take his job away because somebody else got healthier all of a sudden. Well, what are you saying to your team? Like, it's a message in one way that yes, you don't lose your starting job to injury. I think we all know that, that winning kind of trumps everything. So, but they also like Hubbard. So it is, and they truly value him as a leader of the team. So there's a lot of wiggle room here. I could see, like, I remember the start of the season, it was 2 series of Hubbard, a series of Dowdle, 2 series of Hubbard, a series of Dowdle. Could we see a similar rotation? And if somebody gets super hot, that's always the thing in fantasy, is the dreaded hot hand, right? When someone is, just like, you can't predict that in advance. So again, if I'm playing the range of possible outcomes here, the outcomes the story I've told myself, the happy tale that I've created in my mind, and that's the only place it's been created. You have to create your own happy story. You go out, and that's why you come listen to all these various streams, and you look at all the rankings, and you see what all the people who you've come to trust over time are thinking, and you put all that together in your own little mental computer and work it out, right? And you watch football, you have experience, you've been playing fantasy, you know what you think about these things, and if some of what I'm saying helps inform that, great. If some of what I'm saying helps you like harden your position in the other direction, great also, right? That's the whole idea. Same with Rashee Rice. I'm playing him with Wild abandoned. I am not worried about a slow return or being eased back into the mix. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN. Look, let's talk about, reporting about playing time and anticipating player playing time. We saw it last week with the Sunday report by Mike Garofalo. Hassan Haskins will be the lead back in against Miami. Wow, that's going to be great. And I think a lot of decisions were made. I know I changed my rankings based on that. This reporting, and by the way, even Adam Schefter reporting Bam Knight would start for the Cardinals. Bam Knight did not start. Michael Carter was the first guy on the field. Now, Bam ended up saving the day for Schefter because he ended up getting more of the work. But like these reports, people are being told things, and generally they're being told things by agents who don't necessarily know the things they're saying are 100% certain. These are probably not coaches, or might be players saying, "Hey, this is my impression from what we're being told," in meetings or whatever. That's possible as well. But more likely is they're hearing from an agent, and you can tell when you can tell the agents if you follow all the NFL insiders, right? Schefter and Garofalo and Pelissero and Rappaport and Jordan Schultz and all of them, Jeremy Fowler, Dan Graziano, Mike Florio, all the guys that break news, they're all on an AP group text. Oftentimes you'll see the reporting is almost exactly the same from all of them, and it all comes out at the same time. That's because an agent sent a group text out to all his people because he wants his players to be highlighted, and he wants to be able to tell future clients, look, I'm connected with all these guys and I can get you in the news, right? So take all those reports, and put them in, factor them into your equation, but they shouldn't always be the determining factor. I mean, there's sometimes where it's reported, hey, he's out, right? Like if you get that report, or if it's Jay Glazer, who doesn't say anything unless he knows for sure. And, I didn't include him in that group because he is different. Jay Glazer is a different creature. He has close connections with many, many players. I see Jordan Schultz working towards that, right? I think Jordan Schultz is putting in a lot of work to be connected with players by being highly complimentary of them in his discussions on social media and promoting their greatness every opportunity he can, which is fine, but that's kind of what we're doing. So there you have that. The Sunday morning splash reports are more for the attention that they are going to garner the person making the splash report than it is for you and I. The story on Godwin is unknown. There's been some speculation that maybe the hardware that was put into his ankle to hold it all together is causing some kind of irritation or problems. But we don't know the full story. This is ideal, Dan. This is, well, we all pay attention to Matt Waldman. Most of my views come from him. Just kidding. A lot of them do. Well, we disagree a lot too. You can catch me and Matt Waldman. We have a podcast. I can't say the name because there are not enough sorry Joes to get me out of that one. But yes, every Monday you'll find Matt Waldman's channel podcast. Matt and I discuss the players each week and our reactions to the games. Probably ahead on probably have Montgomery slightly ahead of Carter and Knight. And I have Hubbard probably ahead. Let me just double check. I might have Hubbard ahead of all those. Hold on. I'm changing this is the other thing I do while I'm on the radio, while I'm doing these live streams, I'm changing my rankings. You're asking me questions about players that maybe I haven't considered. And it provokes like, oh yeah, would I play this guy over that guy? Well, if I'm saying that, I probably want to say that in my rankings. I think I have. It's Carter. It's Chuba. It's Knight. Or let me check the projections, which are different from my rankings. The projections are where I go for unbiased, like the unfiltered tech only look. So I have it Carter, Hubbard, Knight, and where is Montgomery? Yeah, Carter, Montgomery, Hubbard, and Knight. That's the order. Now that we've got that straightened out. Pick 2, Dowdle, Chuba, Fannin, Taylor, Pittman. Dowdle and probably Pittman for me. One fill-in receiver from the following teams. Which would you choose from Washington, Tampa, and the Giants? So I'm kind of bit on the Chris Moore because he's been getting the volume. It would be Shepard for me for Tampa, and it would be. I'm assuming Wan'Dale Robinson's off the table. I don't know. You're taking your chance teams with any of them. I keep thinking it's going to be Jalen Wyatt, and Lil Jordan Humphrey keeps saying it's going to be him. I view Dowdle and Vidal ahead of that group of running backs as well. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. That was a convoluted show today. I felt like I was not on point because there was all kinds of things going on. Some of it turned out not to be correct. Sorry, Greg Auman. Next time I have him on my radio program, I will excoriate him for it. I'm sure he feels terrible. But glad we got it all straightened out. So no, Mike Evans is not ruled out. He is a game time decision along with Emeka Egbuka. If they do, it might be Jacoby Myers. Jim, we'll see. They might. Thank you, everybody, for coming. So again, catch me tonight, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio and NFL Radio. Mike Dempsey and I, Football Die Hard show from 8 to 11. Catch me tomorrow on the pregame show and listen to that in one ear while you watch Joey Wright and the crew on the live pregame show right here on Fantasy Live channel. Catch Dave and Alfredo, Dave and Jeff Bell, Matt and Jeff Bell, and Cecil and Sig on the Audible channel, the Football Guys Dynasty channel, and the Fantasy Football channel. Watch them all. Subscribe to them all. Check out my work also, again, Monday through Friday, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio 8 to 10, tonight 8 to 11, tomorrow 11 to 1 with Jeff Mans, daily update podcast with Mike Dempsey and myself. Yes, 8 to 11 tonight. Be there. Be there. Aloha. Thanks, everybody. Try to be more on point. That was like an exciting day of activities. Hopefully we have more certainty next week. Take care. Good luck. Everyone get a win this week.